Okay, let's work on toggling the visibility of this modal using Alpine. So into our code, let's make this an Alpine component. So let me just format this real quick. So let's give it some data. So x data equals, and as always, let's just put a piece of state called isOpen, and let's set it to true by default. Okay, and let's set an x show on this. So we want it to show when the variable is set or when the variable is true. And let's put a escape key listener on this. So when we hit escape, the modal closes. So key down dot escape, and we want it on the entire window. And we can just set the isOpen variable here. So isOpen equals false. And let's also do it for the close button. So this button here. So that would be down here somewhere, this button right here. So again, let me just reformat this. And let's say @click and set isOpen to false. Okay, so let's see if this works. So it should show. If I close this, it hides. And let's refresh again. And if I hit escape, it hides. Okay. So now we want to be able to show the modal when we hit edit idea. So how do we do that? The components are sibling components. You'll see this is this component here. And then we have a separate one that's a sibling called edit idea. So we can also make use of events in Alpine, the same way we made use of it within Livewire and Alpine. So let's see if we can get that working. So we're going to dispatch the event when we hit the edit idea button, and then we'll listen for it on the edit idea Alpine component here. So how do we dispatch events? So if we go into Alpine here, you'll see we can use the dispatch method, and we can do something like this. So let's grab this. And I believe the first word has to be custom for this to work. So you can see an example here. It's the same component, but it works across global components as long as they're both on the page. So this one dispatches the event and passes through some variables. And then this one listens for it and then console logs whenever it hears it. Okay, so let's do that. Let's go back to our code. Let's go to idea show. So this is where the edit idea button is, right here. So again, I'm going to format this. Okay, and let's go ahead and paste in what I have here. So let's dispatch an event. And we don't need to pass in data, so let me remove this second param. And like I said, I believe we need custom as the first word. So let's say show edit modal. Okay, and now we can listen for that event in the edit idea component here. So let's put it on here. So to listen for that event, let's grab this and let's paste it in anywhere here. I'll put it right after the key down here. And let's change this name to whatever I named it, which was custom show edit modal. And all we want to do here is set isOpen to true. Okay, and now let's set it to false by default. And let's see if this works. So back here, hard refresh. As you see, when we refresh, we can see it for a second. So we can add xcloak on here. Or you can just set display none if you want on the CSS directly. Okay, let's try again. Okay, it's gone. And now let's try the event. So edit idea. Okay, it doesn't seem to work here. We might have to add .window on this custom listener here. So let's say .window here. See if that fixes it. Hard refresh, try again. And it does work this time. Cool. So this dialog over here is still showing, so let's hide that when we click it. So back to idea show. So we can dispatch the event. And we can also hide the modal. So for this, it has its own isOpen state. Let's just close that here. Okay. Try again. See if it hides. And it does. Cool. And we already set closing the modal to the X button and also escape. And if you want, you can set it to clicking away as well, but I'm okay with just the X button or escape. Okay, now let's work on the transition here. If you look at the Alpine component, you'll see that there's comments here from Tailwind UI. And you can definitely do this using Alpine. It has the ability to set those classes on different states or different stages of the element's transition using X transition. So you would just combine whatever it says in the comments to these states. But like I said, I just want to make use of Alpine's default transitions. So I'm going to delete that. And we need to add a transition on this one. And this is the background. You see it has an opacity 75. And for this, again, let me reformat this. Let's also add a X show on this. And we want a transition. So transition. And we only want opacity for this one because it's the background. And the set is open. And we also want a transition on the actual modal. And again, if you want a custom transition, you can follow these classes, but I'm just going to use Alpine's defaults. So one more time, it's going to reformat this. And let's put a transition on this. So I'm going to copy this one. And let's make it slightly different so it looks like it's coming out from the bottom. So X show transition has some defaults. It has a default opacity and a default scale, which is fine, but I'm going to add some modifiers here. So I want it to start from the bottom. So let's say origin bottom. And I want it to be slightly slower. So let's say duration, I think maybe 400 milliseconds. So let's see if the transition works now on all of these elements. Okay. Edit. And it looks pretty good to me. So again, we have to add X show on 3 different elements. The entire element, one for the background, and one for the actual modal. And again, we have one for the entire element, which has no transition on it. We have one for the background, which has an opacity transition on it. And we have the actual modal, which has a slightly slower transition. And the origin is from the bottom. So yeah, I'm pretty happy with that. Again, one more time. And it shows up. Maybe a bit faster. Let's say 350. You can tweak this to your liking. But let's try 350 here. Okay. You definitely can't see the difference there, but I'm just tweaking it to my liking. I think 300 is good for me. Not sure what the default is. I think it's 200 or 250. So yeah, that's it for this video. In the next video, we'll work on actually editing the idea. So as always, let's git add. This is episode 38. Git commit episode 38. Edit idea modal transitions. Oops, as you see, I have a typo in my commit. I have this handy alias called undo commit, which undoes the last commit but keeps the changes. So let's do that. Undo commit. And we should have the same changes here. Oops, git status is what I meant. So let's do that again with the correct episode number. Edit idea, modal transitions, 38. Oh, sorry, we have to git add. So git add, git commit. And now you see the git log is still correct.